Welcome back to the Connected Health Podcast, where we explore the intersection of mindset, movement, and metabolic health. I'm your host, Vanessa, and today we're diving deep into a forgotten piece of the health puzzle, one of the foundational habits that we do need to pay attention to, your emotions. This is more than just mindset. It's the intersection of biology, psychology, physiology, and identity, and how you can take back the pen to rewrite your own story. Emotions are not really regarded when it comes to talking about health because there's no universal test for happiness. There's no standard of care for emotional well-being. Yet, the impact of your emotions is measurable in the body through your health. Life is supposed to be an emotional ebb and flow. And it's important to remember that emotions, while they seem to have positive and negative connotations, they're not good or bad inherently. They're neutral, they're feedback, they're a part of the human experience. And so to not count them as a part of our health would be missing a puzzle piece that I think is really important. And we normally judge emotions or feelings as good or bad. Usually we put things like happiness on the good side and grief on the bad side, because our survival-focused brain wants to judge things and put them in categories to make ourselves feel safer. We generally want to avoid discomfort and uncomfortable feelings and move towards pleasure and happier feelings for that survival purpose. But it's important to remember that you can't feel joy without feeling sadness. There's a place for both parts of the spectrum. It's okay to have days where our emotions are not the happiest. And the goal isn't constant positivity. It's not toxic positivity. It's not making ourselves so delusional that we pretend that things are okay when they're not. The goal is awareness and resilience. There is a book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, and he talks about 9 toxic emotions, and I wanted to list those out for you. And these are known to have very negative effects on the physical body. And those emotions are bitterness, resentment, discomfort, anger, disappointment, guilt, shame, anxiety, and sadness. And a lot of common emotions that are brought up when people come to me with health issues are anxiety and overwhelm. And when unchecked for long periods of time, they can start to interfere with the body's biological processes, especially when it comes to the hormones cortisol and adrenaline. Chronic stress can cause hormonal disruption, gut issues, lowered immunity, and long-term, the lowered levels of these hormones and body functions can lead to feelings of chronic depression and chronic emotional dysregulation. There is a connect between the emotional state and the physiological state. We've talked in past episodes about hierarchy of feelings, and there is vibrational frequencies related to different emotions and feelings. And we want to spend more time in the higher frequencies, higher vibrations, good vibes type of emotions. But there also is a place for the lower frequencies of emotions as we move through the ebbs and flows of life. I want to move into how thoughts can influence your biology and your mood. Beliefs form the thoughts that we have, and the thoughts that we have create our feelings. And the feelings that we have influence the behavior and the choices that we make from day to day. So it's easy to see with that breakdown how our beliefs at the core of it influence the thoughts, the feelings, behaviors, and choices that make up every day of our lives. The behaviors that we act on shape the results that we get. There's something called limiting beliefs. And what that basically means are they're subconscious stories about who we are or what is possible for us. And those deep beliefs about ourselves can influence all the way down to our behaviors. Some examples of limiting beliefs that keep us confined and not able to reach our full potential could be beliefs like, I'll never be enough, I'll never be healthy, I'll always gain the weight back, I don't deserve this, people like me don't get better, I'll never be like so-and-so. And our limiting beliefs are influenced by our childhood. Our early experiences shape those beliefs and shape those thoughts about who we are. It could be childhood trauma, neglect, the environment that we grew up in, past failures that left a mark on us, or situations where we've been made to feel like failures. Social conditioning, all of this can have an effect on what those internal beliefs and stories are. And with those beliefs come stories that shape the way that we see the world, the way that we see ourselves and our place in the world, and the way that we see what we think is possible for us. And if our beliefs are so ingrained in limitations, therefore creating limiting beliefs and limiting stories, it can actually take away from our quality of life because of those limits that we place on ourselves and repeat to ourselves. We've talked in past episodes, especially about habit formation, about a part of the brain called the Reticular Activating System. This is a part of the brain that filters your surroundings, your environment, what you see and observe and understand. And it filters that to reinforce those beliefs that you have inside of you. For example, if you generally believe that people are not good and they're out to get you, that's the way that you'll see the world. Any stranger that you pass on the street somehow has bad intent towards you, or that they're not good people. And that's just your reticular activating system reinforcing those beliefs that you have that people are generally unsafe. You might have learned that when you were still developing as a child. There's also quantum physics and the observer effect, which says energy changes when we place attention on it. So anything that you focus on will start to grow. You'll start to notice it more. You'll start to focus on it more. And this can be aimed towards positive things or negative things. So whatever you think about, you perpetuate more and more and more. And it starts to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you focus on the negativity, you'll breed more negativity and it'll start to seem like it's true. If you believe something like, I'm going to fail at this, your reticular activating system is going to be looking for ways where you fail. You're going to sabotage yourself, and therefore it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You said in your mind that you were going to fail, and you did fail. But what if we were to take our beliefs and the things that we repeated into something positive? What if we started to speak out success for ourselves? Would that change the way that we see the world and make choices and have different behaviors that start to breed success? That's actually true. Whatever you repeat and focus on grows. We talked in past episodes about our parts before. Refer back to episode 6 of the Connected Health podcast called The Inner Work of Habits. Meet the parts that are holding you back. These are a part of our internal world, and they have different roles. And their goal and their intention is to protect us and keep us safe. But sometimes the way that they go about that actually stops our progress. So just to give you a little bit of a refresher on what some of these parts are, one of them is called the inner critic. This one perpetuates shame to keep you underneath submission. It makes you feel bad about yourself, emotions of shamefulness that you did something wrong, that you're unworthy. Then there's the victim. The victim believes that nothing you try will ever work and keeps you in this cycle of nothing's going to work out for you. You're a victim. Everything happens to you, and so on. And then there's other protector parts in general with the goal of protecting you, keeping you from discomfort, keeping you from taking risks, and so on. All of these are a part of that internal story and belief system and your limiting beliefs. And they're formed from when you were a little kid. But guess what? It's time for you to get acquainted with them, explore them, learn what they're all about, what they have to say to you, and start to give them and assign them a new role in your transformation towards the life that you deserve. In episode 6, I gave you an exercise where you meet these parts, you talk to them, hear them out, and start to explore what they mean for you and start to assign them a new role in your life. This is where you take on the mantle of being your highest self and step into this role of self-leadership. If you have a moment, take some time to explore these limiting beliefs. I'm going to give you some prompts that can help you out with the process. The best way to take apart this exercise is to find some quiet time and space with a journal to write things down. And here are 10 questions that you can ask yourself as you explore these inner storylines and limiting beliefs in your life. Question number 1, what belief has held you back the most? And you can do this with several different beliefs. You don't have to do it with just one, but it's good to just start with one. Question 2, why do you believe this? Question 3, what evidence proves your belief wrong? Remember, the reticular activating system wants to look for evidence that supports the limiting belief and we want to look for evidence to the contrary. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. There are going to be voices that want to shut down that evidence, but you want to pay attention to it and acknowledge it. Question 4, what have you missed out on in life because of that limiting belief? Maybe it's opportunities, relationships, job promotions, anything. Number 5, is there any truth in your belief? Be objective here. I know it's hard for something so vulnerable, but explore that. Number 6, question its impact. What is the impact of your limiting belief? How has it stopped you from doing the things that you really want to do? How has it affected your social circle? How has it affected your physical health? Question 7, what are you afraid of? Question 8, how are you contributing? Meaning, how are you contributing to the repetition and reinforcement of this limiting belief? What are the things that you say or do that keep this belief steady when in reality we want to start to change it? Question 9, what will you have to give up to overcome this belief? And question 10, what could you gain if you gave up this belief? There you go. Those are some questions to ask. You can use those when you're talking to those parts, when you're exploring limiting beliefs. But as you go into that quiet, contemplative space, you definitely want to create a quiet atmosphere where you start with some deep breaths, calming breaths, tune out the world, and really start to focus on what's going internally. You can start with a few minutes of breath work before you sink into this practice. And it is a practice. It's not normal that we set aside time in our schedules to explore our internal world, but our internal world holds the secrets to what's holding us back from getting to where we really want to go in life. As you explore this, take on the mantle of self-leadership by observing with neutrality. So as you explore these parts and ask yourself these questions, don't place any judgment on the answers that are coming out. You're on an information hunt. You want to gather information and see what these parts are saying and what answers are coming up, because it's going to give you so much clarity into why there's self-sabotage, why you're not where you actually want to be in life. Once you have that information, you can start to reteach those parts of yourself new beliefs. Take the old beliefs and replace them with new beliefs, and it's going to perpetuate by repetition. Repeat and repeat and repeat, and you're going to move forward. Because of things like neuroplasticity, which is the ability of our minds to be rewired and learn new things, we can rewire those beliefs deep inside of us. Even if we've held on to them for decades, we can still do the work of rewiring our brain, our beliefs, our thoughts, our behaviors. And it starts with awareness. So definitely take the time to do that exercise. Maybe you have to revisit it several times, but this is where the work starts, with awareness. Our subconscious programming can be updated, just like software. Unfortunately, it's not as easy. This is where things like mantras are helpful, affirmations. And there's one simple one that I repeat on a regular basis because it's very simple for me to remember. And it's a quote by Emil Kuhl. And the quote is, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Give yourself credit for the progress that you're making today. Progress, not perfection. Affirmations can help. Journaling can help. Anything that raises your self-awareness from where you were to where you want to be, and rehearsing that over and over and over again will really help to focus your attention on where you want to go. It gets easier the more that you practice. We're going to switch gears and start talking about the biology of emotions. It's not just a psychological, it's not just something that happens in your head. There are releases of hormones and neurotransmitters and changes in your physiology, like your blood pressure and your heart rate, that are tied to emotions and what the emotions produce. Let's talk about gut health. 90% of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter related to mood, is produced in the gut. If you have poor gut health where you're not digesting well, you have intestinal permeability, bloating, discomfort, guess what? Your mood neurotransmitters are not going to be formed well and effectively. There are various types of neurotransmitter testing, like cryptopyrrole testing, organic acids testing, and other forms of gut testing. And your emotions are also affected by your hormones. If you have low sex hormones like estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, you're going to have lower mood and lower energy overall. So that begs the question, are you just depressed all the time, or are your mood and your hormones functioning lower? I'm wondering if we pay attention to that and start to bring those levels back to normal, your mood will overall improve. The science says yes. High cortisol, your stress hormone, prolonged can lead to anxiety and burnout over time. What's going on in your body affects your brain and your body chemistry. All of these are addressable with nutrition, lifestyle changes, making sure that you're getting adequate and restorative sleep, and you're detoxifying your body from harmful chemicals and biological stressors. All of these things we've talked about in previous episodes when it comes to foundational habits. What you put into your body and onto your body affects not only the internal processes of organ systems and blood and muscles, but it also affects your mood and your emotional state. You cannot separate the two. They're all connected. I wanted to take a moment to address the importance and my recommendations when it comes to mental health services like therapy and counseling. I'm a huge advocate for all of those things. Therapy and coaching can be helpful. It can help support your process of reframing. It can support your healing process, but you do need to find the right type of professional for you. I know a lot of people who waste time and money with therapeutic counseling sessions, but they're not making progress. And part of that is it's not a good fit with the practitioner. Part of that is they're not taking enough personal responsibility for change. Part of that is internally what's going on with the gut and biology. But working on all of these things together will help make progress. I recommend a combination. If you change your lifestyle, your habits, what you eat, how you sleep, take care of yourself, or the messages that you repeat to yourself, and get some counseling, it can change your overall emotional state. So today I want to challenge you to get in the driver's seat of your life. You cannot blame other people for where you're at in life. I try to make these podcast episodes short and concise to give you different tools where you can start to explore avenues of improving your health. And this is yet another one of those. Today, choose to not stay the same. Change only happens when you get to the point where you're so fed up with where you are and you can't take it one more day that you want to make changes for yourself. That's when things will start to shift. Don't wait for someone to make changes for you. Don't wait for the weather to change. Don't wait for someone's behavior to change. Start today. Awareness is the first step. When you take time to look inside of yourself and explore what those limiting beliefs are, you can start to change your outlook on life and overall the choices that you make and the behaviors that you repeat. Your thoughts are thoughts. They're not facts. If you have a thought or a belief that you're perpetuating that you are not enough, that is not a fact. That is a thought. And thoughts can be wrong. Beliefs can also be wrong. And they can also be rewired. You are not broken. You can rewire your story. And you can do it with help. There are coaches and therapists and counselors, friends, family, supporters that you can reach out to lean on for support. But ultimately, the choice to make changes and the responsibility is yours. I'm handing you the tools and I'm reminding you that you are not alone. Choose today the outcome that you want to have and start taking steps to get there. Some more practical steps outside of journaling practices, just to build awareness. Maybe start a daily emotional journal. I'm a huge fan of pen and paper, but you can also do voice notes on your phone. You can do a note on your phone of what emotions did you feel today? Why did you feel them? What do they say about you? Start to explore that and start to uncover what those limiting beliefs are and start to rewire them. Track your thoughts. What thoughts do you notice that are repeated most often? Is that beneficial for you? Is it helping you make progress? If not, start to rewire those beliefs. Say one empowering affirmation daily. Say it out loud. Quantum physics says this works. You can listen to guided meditations on Spotify or YouTube with affirmations. You can do something called emotional freedom technique or EFT tapping, which really explores and makes space for emotions and starts to rewire them from the inside out. There's lots of support out there for you if you want to change your emotional health journey, starting from internally in the body with functional testing, all the way to how it manifests in daily life with the choices that you're making. There are coaches, therapists out there, but I want you to know that you are not alone and you can change the direction of your life by working on your emotional health. Thank you for tuning in to the Connected Health Podcast. If this episode spoke to you at all, please leave a review. This is a pillar that should not be neglected, but unfortunately it is. And it keeps a lot of people from making the progress that they can make if they were to put effort into it. Healing is possible, and it starts with awareness. I'll see you next week.